Schönen guten Abend. Good evening, thank you very much for coming. Ganz kurz einige Worte. Es freut mich, dass wir heute wirklich, für die, die keine Karten mehr bekommen haben, tut es mir leid. Als Veranstalter freuen wir uns natürlich, wenn wir ausverkauft sind. Wir werden dann nachdenken, ob wir nächstes Jahr ein größeres Kino nehmen. Also bitte jetzt schon vormerken, im Übrigen die letzte Novemberwoche 2019, da ist wieder die Palästinensische Filmwoche. Und sie wird höchstwahrscheinlich auch wieder enden wie heute an einem besonderen Tag, und daher möchte ich das doch hier auch noch sagen. Der 29. November ist für die Palästinenser, für das palästinensische Volk ein besonderer Tag. Er ist nicht nur der internationale Solidaritätstag mit Palästina, er ist deswegen der internationale Solidaritätstag, weil er an den 29. November 1947 erinnert. Das ist jener Tag, wo die UN die Resolution 181, die sogenannte Teilungsresolution, beschlossen hat. Und seit damals gedenken die Palästinenser, oder sie erinnern sich an ihre Hoffnung und an das Versprechen, dass sie zumindest einen Teil ihrer Heimat zurückbekommen. Wie wir wissen, ist das bis heute nicht geschehen. Es ist der heutige Tag auch aus einem anderen Grund ein internationaler Gedenktag, der durchaus etwas mit Palästina zu tun hat. Es ist nämlich heute vor 70 Jahren, wo die internationale Deklaration der Menschenrechte beschlossen worden ist. Und Menschenrechte und Palästina, naja, die haben ein sehr inniges oder nicht sehr inniges Verhältnis, weil die Palästinenser haben ein Recht, ein Menschenrecht, ihren Staat zu bekommen, und bis heute ist ihnen dieses Menschenrecht versagt. Daher wollte ich das auch betonen. Es freut mich besonders, dass wir auch am letzten Tag wieder den palästinensischen Botschafter Salah Abdel-Shafi begrüßen dürfen. Danke, Salah, fürs Kommen. Es freut mich auch, dass das erste Mal diese Woche der Geschäftsträger aus Libyen, Jalal al-Hashi, da ist mit seiner Frau. Thank you for coming. Ja, und ganz besonders freut mich natürlich der Star des heutigen Abends, die Regisseurin des heutigen Filmes, Najwa Najjar, zu begrüßen. Najwa, please. Und wir werden nach dem Film die Gelegenheit für ein Gespräch mit ihr haben, aber sie möchte sehr wohl auch vor dem Film Hello zu euch sagen. Please.
Guten Tag. I'm so happy to be here. Hope you enjoy the movie, and everybody stays so we talk afterwards. So see you afterwards.
So, thank you. It was great.
I have to tell you,
Yeah.
You are the first audience. This is my first screening in Austria. And the first audience that stayed for all the credits. Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe, so we know now why it was nominated for the Oscar. So it was really great, and maybe you could tell us, it was your second movie, yeah? Could you tell us a little bit about the story, how you came up to the idea and like this?
I'll say it as brief as possible. I tell stories, so stop me if I go too long. I live in Jerusalem, but I live inside the walled area, and it's still considered Jerusalem. We pay the highest tax, and it's become now an incredible ghetto. They shove all the Jerusalem IDs there. And the wall is intolerable, the soldiers are everywhere, and this was about 5-6 years ago. I started to really lose hope. And I started to think, what do you do when you lose all hope? As somebody who always sees the cup half full, it's never an empty thing, there's always something to see, and to see nothing in front of us. No hope for our children, no hope for a country, no hope for anything. And the story was loosely inspired in 2002. There was Thair Hamad. He was a very young boy when he saw his father, his uncle killed by Israeli soldiers. At 23, around 2002, it was the time when they were going in to do the Jenin massacre. It was a very, very difficult time in Palestine. And this was a checkpoint in Nablus. It was in the Eyes of a Thief. It's Wadi al-Haramiyya. And there was a miserable checkpoint there that cut off the West Bank from everything. And the soldiers were coming to change, to send in more soldiers to kill more people in Jenin. And he took his grandfather's rifle, and he shot 13 soldiers with 15 bullets. I'm not condoning violence. I'm not saying that it's good or bad or whatever. What I am saying is that people, when they're absolutely desperate, when you're up against the wall, not even a wall, when you're in a corner and you can't breathe and you have children, what do you do? So that was the start of, an exploration. And I think in many ways it was a scream for peace. Really, a scream is that if there is no solution to what's happening in the country, if there is no real justice and a real peace built on something that is just and it's dignified peace, then what's going to happen? So.
There's almost nothing to say about that. This is the truth. Maybe you could, I think the team, so the actors, it's an all Arab team. It was Algeria was involved, an Egyptian, the main male. So how did you compose this?
You have to be a little bit insane to make movies. To be a filmmaker in Palestine, you have to be completely mad. So I wanted to bring in Khalid Abu Naga, it started off like this. He's a superstar in Egypt, and I met him now it's 7-8 years friendship. When he first met me, he said, so, when are we going to do a movie together? I said, yeah, that would be great, but you can't enter the country. You have only an Egyptian passport. So time passed, and I thought maybe I can try. I called him, I said, Khalid, there's the role of Father Naim. It's very small. And he said, my father was in Gaza in 1956. And Palestine is in my heart. And at this time, the Arab Spring was happening. Palestine was lost in the Arab Spring. And it was a way for me, the way that I think it's not just Palestine. It's Palestine in the Arab world, with you in Europe, with the whole world, in order to make change. It's not us by ourselves. So he's a friend, he's a very good actor, and he accepted to take a role for 2 days, if we could get him the permission. So Saad Mazi said to me, bring him for the main role. I said, Saad, it's crazy. They'll never give us permission. We applied. Hani, the producer, is also here, Hani Court. So he applied. And after 3 months, we got permission. Production was delayed. He couldn't come. So Hani Court applied again, and we didn't get permission, but we thought, we got it one time, maybe it's not so hard. So we had 35 people working, our co-production companies come in with their crew, everybody was working, and the shoot is starting in 3 days. And Hani calls Khalid, who was waiting at the Dead Sea, talking to everyone who spoke Arabic. Do you speak Palestinian Arabic? Do you speak, what kind of, and then, you know, in Palestine we have different dialects. And at the end he says, you speak 1,000 different dialects. But at the end he was practicing and Hani calls him up and he says, I think it's not gonna work, Khalid, I'm really sorry. And the day before shooting, he got the permission. The biggest party ever. On everybody in Nablus, and I think everybody in all of the city was celebrating. So he came in. Of course, we had to be very, very quiet about the script, because this is a story that has been completely buried by the, we couldn't find anything in the Israeli newspapers. It was an incident that they didn't want to talk about. And we also had to be very quiet with Khalid, and for two reasons. He's a superstar. Everybody will come to where we're staying. And it was just safer and better. And when we were in Nablus, every single night there was an incursion to the Balata camp where this little girl is, from Malak. There's an incursion every single night. So Khalid came out the first night after he heard shooting. He said, what's this? We thought, oh no, what are we going to tell him? He said, wedding. And at the end of the 25 days, he came and he said, wedding, and we said, wedding. Every single night we had an incursion, so it was a tricky situation for the producer to deal with, but we got it done, it was out of the way, and after that, we couldn't get any more permissions, but at least we got this one done. And Melek is a really interesting little girl, adorable little girl. This story was written about a father searching for his son. So I would go to all the refugee camps, I would go to all the cities, we had casting directors everywhere looking for a little boy. And then I found the boy. He had hair to here, he was playing football, he was mad. So I went and I said, I want to see this boy in Balata camp. So he came, he had his hair cut, and he stood in front of me, and he was really shy, but his sister came with him. So I said to her, let's encourage your brother. Maybe with you, he'll become a little bit crazy. Why don't you yell? And I would always tell the boys, yell at me. And they said, yell at you? And I said, yes, yell at me. And they refused to yell at me, all the little boys, very polite little Palestinian boys. So I said to Melek, yell at me, scream at me, throw the table, She threw chairs, she flipped tables, she ran out, and that evening the script changed to a father searching for his little girl. So.
Yeah. And how did you get the famous Algerian singer as for the role?
Saad, I've been trying since my first movie, also a very good friend. Saad, come. No, I'm not an actress, Come try. So for this movie, she accepted, and to her, it was one experience with me, but I don't think she'll do it again. Even though we tried to make it as comfortable as possible, and it was a good time, but I think she prefers just singing. She's a good friend, and I've been pushing her forever to do it. So.
She never worked as an actor?
No.
This was your first and last time?
First and last time, yes. Not because it was a bad experience, it's just she did not like doing the thing 1,000 times.
And Adel, is this a real person? So this story, was it real, happening, something, or is it just a fiction?
It's a fiction, but I'm sure it's relatable.
No, it's reality. I think, unfortunately, we had a similar in Wajib. There was also a similar story between father and son. So this is obviously one of the most crucial facts that there are different ways to respond to occupation and oppression. So this is. And yeah, so please, I think it shouldn't just be a conversation between us, so I'm sure there are many questions or statements, so feel free. I think there is somewhere a mic, isn't this? Yes, here. So please raise your hand and you will get access to the mic. Who will be the first?
I have a question.
So, please.
By the way, I think the girl is a very, very good actress. My question is, to go through all of these things, I mean, the background, there isn't much to see of Palestine in the background. Would it have changed, would the film have changed for you if it was shot somewhere in the Arabic world that looks similar to your communities in Palestine? Wouldn't that have made your life easier and probably giving you much rest?
You know, making cinema is also a form of resistance. You give people jobs, you build a community, you build an industry, you show your country as it is, you go into the houses where they are, into the coffee shops where they are. And I think that the Palestinian narrative is always told by everyone else in other countries, in other places, in other cities. So yeah, it's not easy, and that is the biggest understatement. And I don't play victim. I've chosen what I wanted to do, and I love what I do. But it is what it is, and I think that it's great when you can employ 25, 27 people. 11 heads of department had their first chances with us in this movie, and almost everybody who we employed in this movie worked with us in the movie we just finished shooting last week, our third movie. So it's building an industry and a community and giving people a sense of pride to tell their own stories in their countries, and I think that's important.
Please, the next.
Oh, come on. No, but I have to say, we worked in Greece, and Konstantina, she's here now, she's living in Vienna, so she was with us, so thank you. I'm happy to see you here. And I'm so happy that our Palestinian ambassador is here. This is great, and the Lebanese and the Libyan attaché, right? So thank you both for coming, and all of you. And I'm going to keep talking if nobody asks me a question. Come on, something.
So, please, okay.
You wrote about Palestine, and the Palestinian story and case has many sides and aspects. How hard was it for you or any writer who writes about Palestine to combine and choose what stories and what cases should he talk about or she talk about?
Do you want to write a script? You want to write something, or is this in general? Because it just has to be something that you really feel strongly about, I think. And there's many more writers now in Palestine. There's a whole industry. So there's so many stories. There's so many different stories that need to be told. So for me, it tends to come with one idea or one image, and it has to be something very, very, very personal, I think. If it's very personal, and then it can expand and become not personal. I mean, during this movie, I lost my father about 10 years ago. So I think the whole issue of who's a father, if it's biological or if it's not biological, or how does a father act, who is he? I mean, this was in my movie always what I was feeling when I was making Eyes of a Thief. So I think it has to start from something very, very personal when you start writing. And it can't be just political. And then you build, and to try and build other things around it to take the story to its
So, who else? Please, second question.
My question is, why did you choose to why did you choose certain elements in the movie? Like, for example, why Algerian or why Christian when the majority of people in this area are Muslim? Is there a reason behind that, or is it just something like a random choice? Or
Great question. Great. The Algerian part is Palestinians have been in diaspora in many places, and one of them is Algeria, and Saad is Algerian. It was part of the story to have somebody who's not a complete part of the society, an outsider, who is coming back to the country. And Algeria has stood with Palestine, ظالماً أو مظلوماً. This is Jazair, so it means a lot to us to have this. It wasn't just, we did get funding also from Algeria, but that was not the main reason. As for the Christian element, if you've noticed, the issue has become Muslim versus Jew, which is the most ridiculous thing in the world. When a national conflict has become one that is religious, and it's become very easy because Muslims are demonized. And there's a Jewish question which has been going on now for the past 70 years. So to even discuss anything becomes taboo. So how easy to bring the demon and put it and make that the conflict, when in reality it's a national conflict about land. We had nothing to do with 1948 or with the Holocaust, and yet we have become the victims of this catastrophe. There are Christians, Muslims, Jews, and atheists, agnostics who live on a land, and the conflict should never be religious. So there will always be Christians in my movies as well as Muslims, and I don't care if the majority is. It has nothing to do with religion for me. It is something that's beyond that for me. So it has nothing to do with religion.
Yep. So it's not the end, because we are having a small reception later on. There are some Arabic sweets and not sweets prepared upstairs, so we can continue discussion later on. So I would say, you want to finalize something?
Yes.
Good.
So, did you like it?
Yeah.
I think so.
Did you move? The music, wasn't the music amazing? So I have nominated 3 songs for this movie. So I think it's out on her new album. I'm not promoting her new album, but I should. It's on her new album, and so there are 3 original songs. And thank you for coming, and thank you for staying. Thank you.
Ich will doch was sagen. Mein Name ist Abu Ashadi, ich bin der Obmann von Palästinensische Apothekervereinigung. Und eigentlich, irgendwer muss sich bedanken beim Fritz. Im Rahmen der alle Organisationen bedanken wir uns bei Fritz für die ganze Mühe. Und bitte, ein großer Applaus für Fritz. Vielen lieben Dank. Und ich werde das nicht mehr lustig. Danke sehr.
Na gut, da muss ich auch noch schnell was sagen. Das ist das 2. Mal, wie schon betont. Und yes, by the way, I think you have to hurry up with your new production, because next year you will be either the first or the last, you can decide. But next November you are booked already here.
Thank you. And Susie, and the festival. This is a wonderful, wonderful venture, so thank you for doing this.
So, thank you for coming. Dankeschön, bevor ich ganz schüchtern werde. Also es gibt jetzt noch einen kleinen Snack und es gibt auch ein Hinweis noch, es gibt auch einen kleinen Informationsstand mit verschiedenen Informationen. Wer weiterhin von uns direkt informiert werden will, es gibt eine Liste zum Eintragen, und wer gar noch etwas beitragen möchte, weil dieses Dieses Festival, und da möchte ich auch dem Shadi danken, war völlig aus unseren eigenen finanziellen Möglichkeiten finanziert. Die Beiträge, die wir von Gemeinde Wien bekommen haben, sind eigentlich Peanuts gewesen. Das heißt, wir werden weiter tun, aber wir brauchen auch weiterhin eure Unterstützung. Danke vielmals und schönen Abend.
Dankeschön.